Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Dark Souls 2 walkthrough. We are in the Bastille and we're coming to Macduff to give him the ember that we got from the Iron Keep. Once you do this, this guy is going to be your main blacksmith when it comes to infusing, and he's also going to enable you to buy some of the upgrade materials, namely the large titanite shards, and he'll enable you to buy them indefinitely, which is a really good thing because farming on this game is kind of insane, and I disagree with a large proportion of how it works now. And this is a theme of this game. If you've been having trouble farming resources when it comes to upgrade materials, when you get to certain parts, you will be able to buy them from merchants. And for the most, this completely satiates all the issues that I have with the system. The problems come with the fact that you get them far too late. For instance, to get full access to be able to buy a lot of stuff, it is post-game. You have to have killed the last boss. And only then will like 99% of the stocks become unlimited. And even at that point, both Twinkling Titanite and Petrified Dragonbone are not unlimited, so you have to farm those things. And it just leads to a lot of frustration. And it also leads to neglecting weapons, because it takes so long to get your weapons top tier on this game that you pretty much play the majority of it using stuff you probably don't want to use. If you're a caster build, you're probably still using the elemental longswords that you got at the beginning of the game because they just scaled so well and you invested timing them. You get the weapon you want to use, and it just takes too long to get it to where you need it to be, and you end up just resorting to that old weapon that you perhaps didn't even like, you just used because it was working. And it seems to be really biased against melee builds for this, because you need to essentially get to the undead crypt before you can get your weapons as high as you need them to go, unless you're very fortunate when it comes to farming and drop rates, which is 100% luck and RNG. Because up until that point, you don't have the resources really to reliably make one or two weapons, you know, invest in one early and then invest in the one you really want to use, which means a lot of players are being punished for using something they enjoy that's got a cool moveset, when they could be using something else that's going to give them much more success, because they have it upgraded already and they're wishing they'd save those points because the materials are quite difficult to come by. And I just think it seems really strange in the face of the overpowering and very dominant magic in this game, whereas it might take you to the undead crypt to get your weapon where you need it to be doing the damage you want, and then at that point there's only a handful more areas left and a few bosses, so it's kind of too late. On the flip side, you can beat Hyde's Tower and immediately get hexes, which I'm using right now, which take no skill and will single-handedly destroy 90% of this game effortlessly. It seems like a bit of an oversight, and it's a PvE oversight, guys. It's not PvP, because a lot of these changes and a lot of these observations seem to be focused on the player versus player element. I do believe the reason why they've done this with the upgrade system is to stop people from getting upgraded early and invading low-level players, which is just baffling to me, especially with the inclusion of soul memory, because the Souls games have always been about the dread of invasions. You know, invasions were never intended to be everybody at soul level 120 bowing and you know, fucking not using any of the overpowered stuff, everybody using the most creative setups they can, and like intentionally not backstabbing each other or turning their back when somebody gets a backstab to even the playing field, because that would make sense, you know. And that's not what invasions are. Invasions are just insanity. The Vikings coming to a new island and raping and pillaging, that's an invasion. It's meant to be crazy and stupid and nowhere near balanced. So for them to do what they've done, it just seems like it's this intentional slight against how the system used to work, in favour of, I'm not going to say a casual audience, I'm just going to say increasing the, you know, the accessibility for a player who's not as confident as Souls veterans. But we're entering the gutter here, guys, and these are the undead citizens. They now come in an explosive kind, which will kill themselves if they belly flop and kill their friends around them. If you know the geometry here and you're confident in your ability to navigate, you can run past all of them down the tunnel to my left and just skip this. But I wanted to kill them to show people that if you take your time and you make your hits count, you can handle them. And if you don't, get good at iframing at the last possible instance, or they'll blow you up. But the gutter is an interesting area. You'll notice that I paid the guy up there, is it Gilliam? I forget his names. The names of the people on this game just aren't sticking because I just don't talk to NPCs anymore. I think it's Gilliam, something along those lines. Laddersmith, like Gilliam. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments, but I bought a ladder off him, and you do not have to do that to get down here. You can just put on the cat ring that you can buy from, is it Shalakwa? Or you can just wear some of the lion equipment that increases fall damage, because it all stacks and it all makes it a little bit more bearable, and then you can go down that way with a little bit more vigour, a little bit more HP. But instead I managed to buy the ladder and go down, because it's kind of the way that I did it.
Have you seen that pit, that gaping hole in the earth? I don't know what it's like down below, but I wouldn't suggest trying to find out.
And it's one of those things where when you do it once, you kind of get set in your ways until you see something better or something more interesting. But this is the gutter, and I've seen some interesting opinions on the gutter. A lot of people seem to think it's boring. A lot of people think, you know, it's not as hard as Blighttown or Valley of Defilement. It's just dull with no real reason to navigate it. And I guess I've never really thought of it like that, because to me it will always be directly a Blighttown equivalent. And who the fuck wanted to explore Valley of Defilement? You know, who the hell spends all their time finding all the shinies in Blighttown once they've been through it 50 times? I don't think anybody does, because they're the stepping stones to better areas or to different areas. And I think one of the main reasons why I didn't make a distinction in Dark Souls 2 was because there's a lot of places in this game that I just don't enjoy running around, and I get through them as quickly as I can. The next one that we're going to be leading into after this is called Black Gulch, and that is a place that I think is just completely dreary and just bad. It's one of the most interesting looking areas, and it's got just the biggest pile of white dog shit game design ever, because there are these poison spitting statues that you can see right now. And From Software have this fascination with poison. They have this obsession with always making it dangerous, always making you feel like you're on the back foot, that you're being pressured, that you're on a time limit, that, you know, this environment is hazardous. And previously that came in the form of bugs spitting it and swamps where you were constantly being residually poisoned. In this game they opt for these statues that are actually crafted by the boss that's coming up later on. And I would have no problem with the statues, because you can break them, because they just splash poison at you. But the hits on the poison make your character flinch. They're not just a spray and you carry on with what you're doing. They affect your mobility. And it's not too bad when you just do the little side shuffle, because that one can be recovered. It can even be rolled to recover from. But if they hit you in the face, it does the same stun animation as if you were hit by an arrow, and it can leave you stunned for so long that another enemy will kill you. And if that wasn't the case, if the poison didn't have that hit detection on your character and it just hit you and built poison, I would have no issue. But the stun makes it incredibly dangerous for no other reason than to just really screw a player, because it can hit you mid-roll as well, because of the lacking iframes. Another thing here as well, I've taken my gear off so that I don't break anything going through that. Your weapons are fine, it does not damage your weapons, it's just your clothing and your rings. And those hollows up there with that black looking broken sword, be very careful. They are one of the most powerful enemies on the game. They can 1 to 2 shot you at very high vitality, very high vigor, sorry, and you do not want to mess with it. But thank you for watching anyhow. I hope the videos are helping, and as always, you take care now.